NBA playoffs are finally here, and today, with me to break it all down, is David Lieberman, head of NBA trading here at Caesars Sportsbook.
Hello.
And two expert traders, Joe Chen and Tahi Honeywood. Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, let's get into it. The three-way race for the number 2 seed was decided by some upsets. The Knicks claimed an overtime victory over the Bulls to secure that number 2 seed in their first 50-win season since the 2012-2013 season. Did the Knicks make the right move clinching the number 2 seed in the East?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes. There was some, train of thought that they could have avoided the Heat and the 76ers by losing there. But, to get the home court advantage until the Celtics and just the fact that they're having a pretty good season, are they really trying to avoid people? They're the 2 seed. Like they're playing confidently, and they wanted to win that game. They wanted to be where they are. But I could see the argument. I know, the Cavs kind of seemed like they wanted to avoid that spot. So I think the Knicks made the right decision in trying to win that game. It was a good game too, and surprisingly, and I think they wanted that spot. They wanted home court, and it makes sense.
Right? Do you guys agree?
Oh yeah, I agree. Also, with the Knicks being the number 2 seed, playing the Heat, the 76ers, all the playing teams right now, they're like 10-4 against them in the regular season. So they have a better record against those teams. Playing the Pacers, they were 1-2 this season against them. So I think they dodged the bullet and made the right decision doing that.
I'm going to respectfully disagree on that note.
Love it.
I definitely agree with you guys in the aspect that in the long run, it's definitely the right move.
Yeah.
Like, if they meet the Bucks in the second round, they're going to have home court,
Yeah.
right? But I do think that with all these teams that are so close, I think, it's 6 through 8 almost all have the same record.
Yeah.
Right.
They're barely separated by any margin. So at that point, if you can kind of pick and choose what your matchup is, you kind of wish you had more agency in that aspect, right? I think just facing off against the Heat, the Sixers, they're just more superior teams in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like it. Awesome. Okay, guys, who is the scariest team heading into the playoffs? I think we all know who I think the scariest team is, but David, what do you think?
I feel like this is kind of a double part question. You go with the Nuggets or the Celtics,
right?
Obviously, I picked the Nuggets there just because they won last year. They've shown they have another gear in the playoffs, and I just don't think anyone can really beat them. But to kind of take a different angle, I think you could argue the 76ers, if Embiid is healthy, they're scary and they're not, talked up like the Celtics and Nuggets. And but Embiid, I feel like in his couple games after he came back, he left the court a couple times. It doesn't seem like he's 100%. So,
right.
But obviously I'll go with the Nuggets as the scariest team overall, though.
I like it.
I would agree. Those are definitely the 2 obvious answers. I would like to see it. I think the Thunder could make some noise and can never sleep on LeBron and the Lakers. So I feel like they could definitely do something too.
Yeah. Me personally, I went with the Lakers, and they do have a lot of weaknesses. Yeah. I'll kind of go out on a limb here. Their problem is that, they have a lot of injuries. They don't have Jared Vanderbilt. And they do this weird, 3-point guard lineup. It kind of works just because, all the guards they're pretty tall, they're pretty big. But just having LeBron, obviously, top 10, top 15 player, and then having Anthony Davis, who I think just what he's able to do in the playoffs, very flexible on defense, can do anything. I love to cite the example of the 2020 finals. It's I just imagine in, the coaching huddle with Frank Vogel, he's just Butler's averaging 30 points against us. What do we do? Yeah, let's just switch our center onto him, and then it works.
Yeah.
Right? He can come up to the level of the screen against, sharpshooting smalls. He can just do anything. And I think, having that element where you just can't scheme against him is really, really powerful in the playoffs, assuming they don't face the Nuggets in the first round.
Yeah. I think to add to that, I agree with you guys on the Lakers for sure. Mm-hmm. The Thunder are probably hoping that they lose that or win that first game so they avoid the Lakers entirely. Because I think if the Lakers if they lose that game and then win the second playing game, that the Thunder I'm not going to be underdogs, but I cannot think they'd be happy playing the Lakers in round one as the 1 seed.
Awesome. Which player needs a championship for their legacy most?
I kind of went 2 players just because they're both on the same team. And
Yeah.
it's the 2 Clippers guys. It's Paul George and Harden. Mostly because the clock's ticking. They like, how many more chances do they really have to get a championship? And obviously neither have one. But if I had to pick one, I guess Harden, just because he was maybe a bigger star at his peak, and to not win a championship on some of the teams he's been on, it's like kind of a downer, I guess, for his career. But that's probably who I would go with.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Also, Paul George is my favorite player. I would definitely think he needs this for his legacy. I would love to see him get it. Tatum too. I know they made it to the finals a couple years ago, but I think this would definitely help his legacy out. Them winning.
That's in the media a lot lately.
Yeah.
He
that
eventually
needs to
needs
win.
one.
Yeah.
But he's at least young enough to where you think he'll get another few cracks
Right.
at it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with I think my pick will be Tatum, but I think just philosophically, I don't really care too much about championships when evaluating players. Like Durant on the Bobcats and Durant on the Warriors, one team's not making the playoffs, one team's the best team ever.
Yeah.
Still the same player.
Yeah.
I hope, right? But with Tatum, I think, just as someone who is kind of like this rising star who wants to be like the next household game, it will give him a lot of credence in that aspect.
No, definitely.
Definitely. Is Boston going to steamroll everyone in the Eastern Conference?
I'm going to go no, because while obviously I think they make the finals, so they're like the big favorite, they're my pick, I think a lot of these teams in the East can take them 6 or 7. I mean, the Hawks gave them a scare last year. The Heat obviously beat them. They might get the Heat in round 1. That's not an easy round 1 matchup. I think a lot of it kind of depends on health too. Like Embiid and Giannis are the 2 best players in the conference, but they're not healthy, so they could steamroll over a team that might not be 100%. But I could see like that first round matchup being tough, and I don't think they'll steamroll like they were in the regular season. The lights are a little brighter, and we'll see if the Celtics can handle the pressure this year after last year.
I agree. I don't think the East is a walk in the park. There's a lot of gritty teams over there that's defensive minded. So, like he said, with the Bucks, Magic's a young team. They got something they want to prove. Pacers is out there. There's a lot of really good teams out there. So I think with that being said, that they'll have some struggles going on. I don't think there'll be too many sweeps. And
They always do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think with the Celtics, like, in like any 7-game series, I don't necessarily know if they're the best team per se. They might be neck to neck with a team like Denver. But I think just being in the Eastern Conference where like they're just separating themselves from the pack, they made it a lot easier. But then again, the seeding kind of, messed them up, because instead of facing a team like the Magic or say a team like the Pacers, you kind of pick between the Heat and the 76ers.
Yeah.
And they're sleeping giants in their own right.
Yeah,
Like just very unhealthy. And, Embiid played 39 games. The Heat hero, like he played like the first 20 games, and, he took a sabbatical for a while.
Yeah.
So, I think those teams can give them issues. Hopefully the Heat don't shoot like 55% like wide open threes again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, good point. On the other reverse side, what about the Nuggets?
It's actually kind of like the same answer, I guess. I see them being there at the end of the day, but the road to get to the finals in the West is pretty brutal. If you play like Lakers round 1, that's not going to be easy series. I know they swept them last year, but every game was pretty close. They could have easily lost a couple of them. So I won't. I mean, I just can't see a steamroll by either team, even though I think they're clearly the best team.
Right.
Just because the competition is so tough this year.
Agreed.
Same. Tough in the West, one of the hardest conferences in the league. They still got Timberwolves gave them a lot of troubles this year. Thunder gave them troubles this year. So I don't think no team that the Nuggets can just steamroll in the West at all.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, just team quality is much higher in the West, right? Like if the Nuggets play in the East, they would probably be championship favorites. Like I think that's kind of what separates the Celtics in that aspect.
All right, let's preview Bucks Pacers. We talked about health being an issue, and let's just bring up this game ball controversy rematch.
I feel like this series was meant to be. The fact that they had the controversy earlier in the year and we get this round 1 is kind of a treat. It is a little disappointing. I don't think Giannis will be ready for I don't want to speculate like which game he'll come back, but I just don't think he'll be 100% healthy early on. So honestly, I could see the Pacers winning. They were 4-1 against them in the regular season. That's with Giannis. I think he played most of those games. So without Giannis, I mean they're obviously small dogs, but I lean the Pacers right now, just because of the question marks with Giannis's health.
Right.
Same. That was one of the most exciting probably matchups throughout the year. They were very entertaining, a lot of high-scoring games. But a calf strain is nothing to play around with. We saw what happened to Durant when he came back early from a calf strain. So I don't think Giannis would be fully healthy, or if he should even play this round, to be honest with you. I would probably sit out, hope the Bucks could pull it out and go from there.
Long term, that might be better, but we'll see if they can even get by the Pacers.
As someone who has personal experience, right?
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I have quite a bit written down for this. I think it's a pretty fun matchup. Like, if you look at the scores for each game, it's like something insane, right? Like 144 to like 143. And I don't think that's really a fluke at the end of the day. So I just kind of look at how they match up, like their X's and O's. And like how I see it is that like neither of these teams can like guard each other.
Yeah.
It's like two glass cannons. Like they can throw a punch, but like they just can't take one, right? So like from like the Pacers defensively, like from their side, they shoot a lot of threes. That really just ignites like the Giannis transition.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they just don't have a player that can really stick against Giannis, right? I'm thinking they need someone who's very mobile, very strong, very like low base. Think like a Grant Williams. Think like an Al Horford. They don't really have that on their team.
Yeah.
On the other side, the Bucks, they just have a lot of issues containing like a 5-out offense. That because they love putting Giannis on a weaker shooter and kind of having him roam off that shooter to kind of like gum up what's going on in the middle of the middle of the floor. So like, and on top of that, they traded I'll say like two of their top 3 point of attack defenders, right? Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen. You don't have them kind of chasing around the screens, so you can't really force a lot of these guards into that Brook Lopez drop coverage.
Yeah.
Instead, you have Dame, you have Malik Beasley, I believe. They're trying their best, but it's really not the same. And then you're doing this against probably the best pull-up shooter right now in the NBA. So it's two teams that just can't really guard each other.
Yeah.
I will say the X factor might be Siakam, who I don't think they had for any of the games against the Bucks.
He wasn't there before the trades.
I'm interested to see how they guard the Bucks, maybe a little differently with Siakam in the fold. But your point still remains. I don't think they're going to keep them from scoring. The Pacers have one of the worst defenses in the league, but they score at will, so it should be a fun series no matter what.
And on that Siakam point, he's actually had a lot of success against Giannis, like before when he was in Toronto. I mean, they obviously had that infrastructure behind him, but like, he had success kind of containing that drive. But like, I do kind of worry about that offensive fit between him and Halliburton.
Yeah.
Like you're setting up an ISO for him at the top of the key for like a jumper when you could get like a spread pick and roll with Tyrese instead. It's not Monte Ellis, Brandon Jennings bad, but it's some kind of is there some kind of disharmony between that?
Definitely. I do feel like their offensive took a drop since that.
Especially Halliburton.
Yeah, it's not the same.
He might not have been 100% for the second half of the season, but his numbers took a step back pretty drastically after they got Siakam. But we'll see what happens in the playoffs.
We will see. Let's move on to Mavs Clippers. For the third time in 5 seasons, the Clippers and Mavs will meet in the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Clippers have won the previous 2, but something feels a little bit different about this one.
Yeah. I mean, the elephant in the room is, again, health, Kawhi's knee. Obviously, the Clippers at full strength were trending to be maybe like the one team that could knock off the Nuggets this year. And when Kawhi went down, I was like, I don't know if they could beat anyone in the first round without him. So it kind of depends on him. They're being a little coy with his status and how healthy he actually is or isn't. And so I think, again, I would have to fade kind of the injured team at that point. And I think the Mavericks have been playing really well, and you got a fully healthy roster. I mean, Luka's not ever fully healthy, but he's just a beast, and they've been playing really well. They've been playing defense, rebounding the ball well since the trade deadline, and they made a couple big additions that should help them against a team like the Clippers in the first round.
Let's talk about that Luka-Kyrie connection. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. What about it?
You think that will be the big differentiator?
Yeah, I mean, to have two guards that can score like that, it's obviously it probably will be. But
Do you think they're the best duo in the league right now? That's what's been floating out there. I don't personally agree, but I could see where people are coming from.
scoring wise,
Yeah,
I think they
from
are.
scoring standpoint
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are, but
Maybe not all
Not
around.
a defensive
Yeah,
standpoint. No, that's fair.
it's just hard. Like LeBron, AD, Jamal, Jokic. There's definitely
Quite a
better
few to
duos out
choose
there.
from.
Yeah, but Luka's he's had an insane season. His
Yeah.
numbers are absolutely like out of this world. I think if Jokic wasn't kind of shoehorned into the MVP spot, that I think Luka deserves it, especially
Totally.
with how they finished the season. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of rooting for Luka just to see how far he can go with this team and this roster. See what happens.
I think long-term rise, I don't know if Luka and Kai can consistently put up the numbers that they will need to be the healthy Clippers team. But like he said, that all depends on Kawhi. There's really no true update of like how bad the injury is. And so we'll definitely see how that one plays out depending on how he is.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that the Mavericks Clippers kind of matchup has always just been very fascinating. Because, like, if you're kind of building the perfect team to contain Luka, just having 5 wings out there and, like, being able to switch all of his pick and roll action, you would think, oh, this is how you would contain a player like him. But, you know, he just still goes out for 40 points every game.
Yeah.
Although he has had some less impressive games against the Clippers recently. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Let's preview Cavs Magic. Both teams ranked in the NBA's top 10 defensively and in the lower half offensively.
Yeah, if there was a polar opposite of the Bucks Pacers series, it would be Cavs Magic. I think for as high scoring as that one will be, this will be probably the lowest scoring series we've seen in a while. I think you mentioned it earlier, Tahi. The Magic defense is for real, and they're young and they're athletic and they're big, and they got Jonathan Isaac back, who has been playing pretty well. And if he's healthy, then I think they'll give the Cavs a lot of trouble. And the Cavs obviously had a lot of trouble with the Knicks last year. So if you can't score on the Knicks, how are you going to score on the Magic?
Yeah.
Fair point.
Like he said, Magic's defense is really good, and honestly, I think that could probably be one of the upsets in the first round. I don't think the Cavs have enough. All season long, they look shaky. D. Mitch has been hurt pretty much most of the season. I don't think Garland can take that team by himself. So I think Magic won that series.
Yeah, I mean, like, adding on to, like, David's point, like, my initial reaction when looking at this matchup was, how are each team going to score?
Yeah.
Like, not great spacing on the floor, and then they both play, like double bigs, right?
Yeah.
And now, you know, they add Jonathan Isaac. That's just going to, like, I immediately think of, like, you know those trampoline parks where they play basketball? No one's going to shoot. They all go to the rim.
Yeah.
Like 5 people trying to block one shot. That's how I imagine this series is going to go. But, yeah, like, I obviously think that the Cavs have more talent, but there isn't a lot of harmony between how those pieces fit together, right? They played the 2 bigs, you know, pretty good on defense, but not the best offensive fit. They actually had, I think, their best lineup when it was just Mitchell and Jared Allen. So we'll see how that works. The Magic on our side, they kind of struggle to score. They don't have good spacing either.
Yeah.
So I expect a lot of games to go below like 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
All right. Can we preview T-Wolves versus Suns?
Yes. This one doesn't have as many injury-related issues, but I guess Cat came back yesterday and he didn't look great, so maybe he's still a little banged up. But I think the T-Wolves can compete better if he's not 100% than some of these other teams if they don't have, you know, their star player. Edwards kind of was carrying them for a while when Cat was out, and they looked really good for a while. So it kind of just depends on how they'll gel back together with him coming back from injury. With that being said, the Suns kind of owned them, and they owned them this season a couple times where just the Suns they're kind of look like men compared to like the boys. And if Bradley Beal plays like he did yesterday, I think the Suns are actually kind of dangerous. We didn't touch on them in the scary teams, but if you have Durant and Beal and Booker playing at full cylinder, like I mean, they could probably take any team in the West out for sure. And I mean, the Timberwolves, they have home court, but they're underdogs in the series. So
Right.
the Suns are the favorites. So we'll see if the Timberwolves can kind of bounce back after yesterday's domination.
Timberwolves with the Suns. They arguably probably the best defensive team in the league. But the Suns just have so much firepower. Like, you can have Durant have a bad game, and as long as Booker and Bill are able to carry, they can still overcome them. And like yesterday's game, it was just a blowout. Like, they had no answer for those three at all. So the Suns have owned them most of the season. So definitely lean Suns towards that one.
Yeah, I think the Suns are 3-0 against them this season, right?
It's funny that you bring that up because Devin Booker himself is 11-1 versus Anthony Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
So, phenomenal stats.
Yeah, I think definitely like watching yesterday's game, part of that just boils down to matchup, right? Like, just the way they match up on defense. Like, they had Karl Anthony Towns guarding Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch that game, it's just hilarious watching like this bigger dude chasing the smaller guy around the court like he owes him money, right? Yeah, so like having that shooting really disadvantages having two bigs because that team matches up pretty well against a team like, say, Denver, right?
Yes.
As you mentioned earlier. And that size, it actually helps you when you're guarding Aaron Gordon as opposed to Grayson Allen, who's trying to shoot, who shot like 50% at one point, right, from three. It's crazy. And then on the other side, it's like you're not giving up too much size with Durant on Cat.
Yeah.
There are some things they can do. They can go small. I expect to see like a zone or they play like one center at a time. But they actually had some success with Cat posting up because he just immediately draws like a double team.
Yeah.
Right. So, Timberwolves, it's not the best. Like, I don't know. It's kind of tough like working this hard all year just to get the Suns in the first round. But they have some tools in their toolkit.
But that's like the story of the West. You work hard all season and still get
1 through 10. You could make an argument every team would be a tough out in the first round.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
Totally. We're going to get into previewing the play-in games, but which play-in team has the best chance to make a run to the finals, similar to what the Heat did last season?
Yeah. I'm harking back to if Embiid's healthy, it's the 76ers, but I don't think he is. So I'll probably pivot to the Lakers just because of what we previously talked about. You got LeBron and AD. I don't think that any team wants to see them. And coming out of the play-in, they're just going to be a tough out. And they have the experience and the athleticism and the size to take on pretty much any team in the West. I think they match up the best against the Nuggets out of most of the teams. So if anyone's going to make a run, it'll probably be them. In the East, I guess you could go back to the Heat just because until we see the Celtics beat the Heat, then, that they have a shot. But I'd probably go with the Lakers.
Same. Like David said, I think the 76ers, if Embiid's healthy, they look like they could definitely easily make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But like David said, Embiid's been leaving a lot of games early, that injury.
Yeah.
He came back pretty quick. So, and then also in the West, the Lakers definitely. I mean, LeBron's hard to go against them at times.
Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would go with the 76ers just because they play in the East. I think in a matchup against the Knicks, I would actually expect the Sixers to win that one.
Yeah.
Just not having to face Julius Randle. Like, I guess like Embiid's health is a caveat, but then again, he's always injured.
Yeah.
He's been injured since like 2018, like every playoff run. Which respect to him for going through that. And I think like this year, like even though they lost Harden, even though they lost Tucker, I think they actually oiled the gears in some sort of way where like the offense is actually much more
smoother and better.
Yeah, much more ergonomic actually running through that 5 out as opposed to through pick and roll and through the post.
Yeah.
Right? They have the wings, which is a much better fit. Like an issue they had is their defensive versatility. Now they can trot out more sophisticated defensive kind of game plans.
Yeah, Kelly Oubre's been playing really good this season. Mm-hmm. He's been stepped up his defensive game, but he healed as a shooter, so I think they definitely a better team.
Having Batum, Covington, man, it's all that switching on the perimeter.
Yeah.
What was that Harden quote when he joined the Clippers? He was like, "I am the system" or something like that. So getting out of that Harden owned system, I guess it allowed guys like Maxey to shine, and like you said, the offense runs a little bit smoother.
I like it. Let's break down the play-in games. First up, Lakers versus Pelicans. Both team pretty familiar territory with the play-in tournament. Do the Lakers maybe want to lose this to avoid the reigning champs? What do you guys think?
I think you could make that argument. I don't think they think that.
Right.
They're not going to tank the game just to avoid the Nuggets, but I think it's almost a win-win situation for them. They kind of own the Pelicans, so I think they beat them. But if they lose, then you get either the Kings or the Warriors, and I can't see either of those teams beating the Lakers. So then you avoid, obviously, the Nuggets, and I think they match up really well against the Thunder. So basically, you have one crack at it to get in right off the bat, and then you have another crack to get a better matchup. So it's kind of a win-win situation for them.
Definitely a tough situation. As a Laker fan, definitely don't want to see them against the Nuggets. But I know they're not going to go out there and lose. The Kings, we
Right.
struggle against the Kings, so I really don't want to see us against them. But, I mean, playoffs, it's a different animal, so I think LeBron and them can step up, and AD can finally get a win against Sabonis. And then Golden State, that definitely would be a matchup that just NBA fans would love to see again, as a LeBron against Steph in the play-in. So,
As a Celtics fan, I would love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just way too much risk to like throw one of these games intentionally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't think any team
You
will.
can't not bring it up.
There's
though.
there's too much variance in needing a one-game playoff.
Yeah.
You have two
Yeah.
shots at it. Just try for the first, and if you don't get it, then it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm kind of like, I kind of just think that they're just gonna steamroll the Pelicans again. They just match up really well against them. Having Anthony Davis as kind of like the catch-all defender, Zion can't really shoot against that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
And it's Zion's postseason debut. No.
It is.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How do we think he'll?
short.
He'll match
it'll be, it'll be short.
Yeah. So we all collectively give the advantage to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just they match up really well against the Pelicans, so it's just kind of
Right.
a bad spot for the Pelicans. And I'm sure the NBA is kind of rooting for the Lakers and the Warriors to come out of the play-in, just
Yeah.
because
Totally.
those first-round matchups, the Warriors and the Thunder would be a great series, and obviously the Lakers Nuggets.
All right. Game 2, Golden State Warriors versus Sacramento Kings for a winner go home playing game. What do you guys think?
There's kind of like a big brother, little brother situation up there in Northern California. I think the Kings kind of took a step back this year, and they don't have who's out, Monk
Monk
and
and Kevin
Horner.
Huerter.
Yeah, so they're not fully healthy. I think if they were, they would have a good shot against the Warriors, but as of now, they're underdogs, and I won't bet against Steph in a winner take all one game scenario. So I think the Warriors come out of this game, and then they'll obviously have to beat either the Lakers or the Pelicans. But should be a good game, and the Kings' home court atmosphere is rowdy as can be. So hopefully we see a good game at least.
Like David said, I'm taking the Warriors too. Just think, don't want to see Steph in a playing game. With all the Kings' injuries, I just don't think they have enough. They haven't looked that great and cohesive as they did last year this season. So I think the Warriors will be able to take them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think enough has changed from last year that will kind of change my mind on the matchup, where I think the Warriors would win. Looney hasn't been playing a lot, but if they have him out there and literally just a moving fridge out there to stop Sabonis from scoring at the rim.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think Sabonis has added enough shooting. Fox, his shooting is still kind of a question mark. I know he's around league average, but it's just not really something that's really reliable. And I think without addressing those issues, I kind of find it hard to view that as a team that will they're just going to run into the same problems. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who's more likely to get out of the play-in, Warriors or Lakers?
Lakers. Yeah, I go Lakers, but
Lakers.
they got two cracks at it. So.
Is it a clean sweep? Lakers?
Just Lakers because, I think they're the better team, and then also because the Warriors need to win 2 on the road.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right. Moving on. Heat versus 76ers. We already mentioned it, but this is familiar territory for Miami. let's break it down. Will the Heat make a similar Cinderella run as they did last year?
I mean, I'll never say never with the Heat with Spoelstra coaching, but this is pretty wild for a playing game. The Heat and 76ers, you could argue they're two of the best teams, top 4 teams in the East. The Heat feel like a team that will see the game, like they'll go into Philly and say, well, if we don't beat them, we'll take care of the Hawks or the Bulls. So they're obviously they want to win that game, similar to the Lakers, but I think the 76ers will take care of business at home. But yeah, the Heat, and then you could argue the Heat want to play the Celtics in the first round just because mentally the Celtics might have some trouble playing them again. So we'll see if the Heat can pull off that game, and they'd end up playing the Knicks, which they match up well against us also. But I think most people are hoping for the Celtics Heat in the first round.
Yeah. Just like David said, I think 76ers win that matchup. The Heat, they know they got a second chance, like he said, so I don't think they go in there really stressing it too much. I think they believe that they could beat the Hawks or the Bulls, either team that come out of there. So I'm taking 76ers.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, I think as like a Celtics fan, I probably tend to overrate how good the Heat are.
Totally.
Do they melt nylon again with their 3-point shooting, or do they not? I mean, because they had like down shooting playoffs, like against the Bucks in 2021. Mm-hmm. They didn't shoot that well. They lost pretty quickly, right? Last year, 58% on wide open threes against the Celtics. Yeah, that'll probably help you win a series. But yeah, we'll see if they can do it again. I think it's a battle of like 2 sleeping giants, which is what's kind of fascinating about it. Like one team is getting like a top 5 player back. The other team is constantly injured. They're always going deep into their bench. Like when you're relying on like, I think, or at least early in the season, it was like Drew Smith and Hayward Highsmith to like kind of buttress your offense.
Yeah.
This just isn't a team that's built for a marathon. They're much more for sprints. They'll shrink their rotations, and then you look at their top 8, and you're like, yeah, this is a quality team.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll lean to Heat.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's break down Hawks versus Bulls. This will be Trae Young's 3rd consecutive appearance in the play-in tournament. He's 3-0.
Yeah.
So can he make it 4?
I guess when you put it that way, it's kind of hard to bet against them, right?
Yeah.
The Bulls are kind of if you put them, the Bulls like 10 years ago, this Bulls team would probably be like a top 2 or 3 team in the East. Yeah. But the way they play, they're not. They kind of leave it for the end, and they're clutch late. But I think the Hawks might just be too young, too quick. It's a good matchup for a play-in game. I don't see either team really coming out of the play-in, so it's kind of maybe like not really a big. It's almost like either team's running into a buzzsaw.
Yeah,
It's almost like an irrelevant game.
It doesn't.
Right.
I don't want to say irrelevant, but it feels that way. Like, it'll be a great game. I could see it being a fun game to watch. But no matter who comes out of that game, they're going to have trouble getting out of the game too. Anyway.
No, just like he said, I don't think neither one of those teams can really make it far in the playoffs to be period. I mean, just to be frank. So
we're calling it a lost cause.
in like a sense, kind of. I mean, they worked hard to get there, so props to both of those teams.
Right.
I just think that neither one of them are really good enough to beat any of the other teams in the East. Trae Young missed a lot of games. DeJounte, shout out to him for carrying the Hawks as far as he did. Zach LaVine has been out most of the season, so DeMar and Kobe has had to put that team on their shoulders. I just don't think that they will have enough in the long run to beat any of the other top teams in the East.
Yeah, I mean, this just really isn't the matchup I thought too much about. Sorry for being a casual. But, I mean, I think if I had to choose, I'd probably go with the Hawks just because they have more talent, I think. They got Trae back. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Bulls aren't too bad. When they had Lonzo, Caruso's a beast. And then... But yeah, like other than that, not 2 really high-level teams.
Yeah, kind of compared to the other 3 matchups, it's kind of just on the back burner, I guess.
Yeah.
A dud.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be a great game, but just going forward,
right?
Doesn't really.
No, that's fair. Okay, let's get into some final predictions. I don't know how you guys went about this. Did you pick one team to win it all? Did you pick both teams to go?
I mean, if we're finals picks, predictions, I went chalk, Nuggets over Celtics. I think this matchup is kind of what we got robbed of last year.
Right.
And so that kind of feels where it's inevitably going to go. I think the Nuggets are just a little too good for the Celtics if this ends up being the matchup. But I'm going chalk, but that's who I think will end up being there at the end of the day.
I'm assuming that's what the bettors are thinking as well.
Yeah, they're pretty both pretty big favorites to get there.
Right.
Yeah, same, pretty much the chalk. I think a sleeper would be Lakers Celtics. That would be great for the NBA to see those two teams clash. So I'm gonna lean there. I'm gonna go Lakers.
Clash
Celtics.
for 18.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
The
Lakers,
story
Celtics.
writes itself.
Okay. I mean, I just went with Celtics Nuggets. I think that's a pretty interesting matchup. We only got 2 matchups this year, and both really, really close. It really could have just gone either way. If Tatum hit that corner 3 to go up ahead,
Yeah.
it could be different, right? But I think a lot of the discourse is shifting towards the Nuggets, and I can kind of see that. I think that's a team that matches up pretty well against the Celtics. Celtics are just going to have to double team Jokic, right? They don't really have their best lineup isn't necessarily conducive to that. I think they're probably going to have to go double big without Horford, and that's a better matchup anyway. You have Porzingis helping off Gordon. That might just be the way to go. The Celtics have the edge in the sense that they have home court and they have 5 out, so they start hitting their threes. They can kind of frustrate having Jokic just like sagging in the paint.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'll say with the Nuggets too, like having Jokic is awesome, but I kind of see, I guess like if you like thinking of like a Jokic team, you would think they'll be like number 1, number 2 on offense. I think like the issue is that they only have 3, maybe 4 really good offensive players on that team. Like other than that, it's like Aaron Gordon. You go deeper in the bench, Christian Brown, not bad, but like really just mostly out there for defense. Like if I met them in real life, I'm probably not asking them for a skills drill. I'm more so asking them, hey, what are you doing in the gym? Give me a workout or something, because big dudes out there for defense. Yeah.
All right, so who are you taking in that game?
Oh, sorry. I didn't answer your question.
No, you're totally fine. You gave a great breakdown of both sides and why they could win.
As a homer,
Yeah.
I'm tempted to go with the Celtics, but I'm definitely going to emotionally hedge on the Nuggets for sure.
I know.
Right. All right. Well, fun fact here. Highest point differential in NBA history. We have LA Lakers, the 71-72 season, Milwaukee, the 70-71 season, Chicago, 95-96, Golden State, 16-17, Boston, 23-24. You know what all those teams besides Boston have in common?
Did they win it all?
They won it all.
So it's written in the stars.
It truly is. All right. Well, that's all I got, guys. Thank you for joining me, and we're super excited to watch these playoffs kick off.
Me too. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.